Hi guys, welcome back. I wanted to make some birds to live in my gnome home, so I made a pair of tiny rifleman birds using spun cotton. When I attempted the first one, I fell in love with it and popped it in a bird's nest Easter decoration to wait for its mate. The first one only had a couple of metal spikes for legs, so what I'm about to show you is how I figured out to make some legs for the second bird as well as the bird himself. The spun cotton technique I've used reminds me a lot of paper mache, so if you've done paper mache crafting before, this should be quite straightforward for you. As usual, list of materials I use will be in the description below. The first thing I did was select what wire to use. I don't know the gauges of these craft wires, but I have a few in different thicknesses. I picked a thicker jewellery wire and cut 6 the same length and one longer one to make the legs. Well, technically it'll be one leg with feet at each end that bends in half and is buried within the body structure, but you'll see what I mean with that later. What you can see me doing here is trying to wrap the leg wire around the toe wires to try and join them together. I couldn't get it tight enough, as you can see, so the leg wire was not going to be able to hold the toe wires, so I'm going to have to find another solution. So now I'm going to try winding a thinner wire around the shorter pieces, which are supposed to be the toes, to hold them at each end of the long wire before bending the toes into shape. The long wire will be forming the fourth toe, but I couldn't get that binding wire tight enough, and the toes still kept turning and moving around. I kept trying to make it work for ages, but in the end I resorted to adding super glue in the joins and then setting it with baking soda to keep it super strong, but it left me with bird legs that could stand up by themselves. In future I'd skip the binding step and just go straight for the super glue and baking soda. The spun cotton I'm using is just ordinary cotton balls from the grocery store. You can unravel them into strips and then tease them apart if you need finer pieces. I also used ordinary tinfoil for the body. As with paper mache, you'll need your trusty watered down white glue. I keep mine in an old resealable container and it keeps for ages. So grab your legs and bend over some of the excess wire between the feet to help support the forward-leaning shape of the bird body. When you're happy with how it's standing up, you'll be able to grab some of that tin foil and start wrapping it around the wire to form the body. If your toes start moving again, just add more super glue and baking soda to hold that little piggy in place. Remember, when shaping the body, you only need the basic form. All the final details are created with the cotton and paint. I like to pack the foil quite firmly to give the body a more sturdy base. When you're happy with your basic shape, I like to cover it with masking tape. Not every spun cotton artist does this, but it's what I do and it works for me. I covered everything except the legs. And here you can see me doing the super glue and baking soda to stop those little piggies from going to market. It would be even better if I did it all on camera. So here's what my little bird looks like so far. Kind of homely, but he's about to have a glow up. It's spun cotton time. Take your water and glue mix and dab some on the bird body and then start wrapping the spun cotton strands around the body. When you get to the end of your piece of cotton, dab a little of the glue mix on it to stick it down. Try to wrap the cotton firmly and don't add too much glue at this point. Damp is fine, soggy is a bad thing and may not dry very well. Any areas that need a little fattening up can be fixed by adding more cotton. You can use your paintbrush almost like a sculpting tool to smooth out and shape the cotton. I've seen this technique used to make some amazing Christmas decorations or ornaments, even dolls, by other creators. It's so simple and inexpensive and has apparently been around since the Victorian times. I tried not to edit the process of adding the cotton too much so you can really see how I worked on it. The video was sped up of course, or else would be here for hours. I used the smallest piece of cotton to wrap around the legs. It was tricky getting it around without catching it on the toes, but I made sure to blend the leg wrapping into the body with the brush. I used pieces of cotton to form the wings, shaping them and attaching them to the body with the watered down glue. Because the body was still damp when I did it, I didn't need to add any extra glue to make them stick. If you have left the body to dry before this stage, you will need some tacky glue to stick the wings on. And here he is, one spun cotton bird. Well, nearly. Leave him to dry fully and then let's trim and paint him. Again, here I differentiate from other creators. Some will begin the painting process while it's still wet and they use watercolour paints. I let them dry and use acrylic paints. I tried marking out where I thought I wanted the eyes to go. I also tried to poke holes for them too. It was surprisingly tougher than I imagined. Spun cotton is quite strong. Okay, now we paint. Paint your bird whatever colours you want. I'm trying to make mine look like a rifleman, which is a tiny native bird in New Zealand. I'm painting directly on the dry cotton with a soft brush. I've always really loved painting the native birds of my country. I don't know why, but they just give me so much joy. While the paint is drying, I'm making the tiny beak with cardstock from packaging. Sand off any glossy sides so the Tacky glue will hold as you make a double layer of card. My Tacky glue is down to the dregs on the bottle, so I'm scooping it out with a coffee stir stick. Clamp the cardstock together while it dries so it stays nice and flat. Once dry, trim it into a small triangular beak shape. Keep dry fitting it to be 100% sure it's right. Glue the beak on with super glue and hold it in place for a few seconds. Back to painting. Add more of the finer details and shading now the main colours of the body are dry, and paint the beak and legs too while you're at it. For the wire toes, I painted them with acrylic paint and tacky glue mixed together. I did have to touch them up a little later, but the glue helps the paint to stick to the wire for the most part. Right about now you remember the coffee you made yourself before you began painting and take a drink. It's gone cold, of course, but that's okay because you're so immersed in painting you immediately forget about it until you take another drink. Repeat this cycle 6 more times. I got some T-bar pins from AliExpress to make the eyes. If you don't have any, then you can just use some steel sewing pins. I dipped the heads of the pins in acrylic paint and let them dry. When the pins were dry, I added a small drop of Mod Podge Dimensional Magic to the tops of the pin heads. UV resin would probably work well here too. I also coated the beak with Dimensional Magic too. It leaves the beak stronger and glossy. Then you leave it to dry. The eyes have set and are nicely rounded, so let's cut off the excess stalky bit and give our bird the gift of sight. Dry fit the eyes in the eye holes and fix the holes if needed. Try not to squish the head too much in the process. Once they're all good to go, dip the eye stalk in tacky glue and then gently push the eye into place. One of the dimensional magic eyes popped off the end of one of the pins, so I glued it back with some super glue. No harm done. Then finish it off with a coat all over with matte Mod Podge to seal the whole bird. I can't wait to see these guys perched in my gnome home. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new uploads, and leave a comment because I'd love to hear from you. It really helps my channel to grow. If you want to share your own crafty ideas and projects, join my Facebook page called Nessie Monster Crafts. And we have Fun Day Fridays where we can all show off our latest works in progress. If you can afford it, please consider buying me a coffee. Links for both my Facebook group and coffee account are in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!